I know you're fired up. It's all right. Be angry. Be happy, but be angry. It's all right. The Chiefs got to win, and yet there's still a slight in Chiefs Kingdom. I know you guys are here for that. We're going to get into Patrick Mahomes is the QB1. I don't care who says. For 1 week, you can argue he's the best quarterback in this league right now, and I'm not listening to anybody else. We're going to talk about the decisions. We're going to talk about the injuries because there is a lot coming up. The marquee game of the week is this week, and the Chiefs are in it. We're going to get into all that and tonight. Hey, welcome to RGR Football. Welcome back, everybody. It's been a Monday. If you're happy with that, give me a rogue, please. Dan's going to come down. He's going to start here in a minute. It's okay. It's okay. Nothing to be alarmed about. This is RGR Football. If you don't know us, he's Dan Harms. I'm Ryan Tracy. This is Ryan going rogue. At least that's how this channel started. And now we have a 17-man crew bringing you content nearly constantly in all different kinds of ways, and we're glad to see you guys tonight. I know everybody's pumped about the ball game. You should be. I know everybody's really fired up about the Mahomes thing. Dan's going to address that here in a second, but just want to remind you, this is Q&A tonight. Every super chat gets an answer no matter what. A lot of the other ones will as well. At least we're going to address the topic, so please put your question marks before the question. That helps me find them because I'm old and I'm blind, and Dan gets frustrated with me when I don't find all the questions.
I don't actually. That's a false claim. It's false, much like some things that were stated today on Twitter.
Yeah, it's a day of falsities. It's great. So we're gonna get off after it, but just let me tee you up, and we'll address it, folks, and then we'll come back. Dan, everybody gets to have an opinion.
Yeah.
The question is, when you tout yourself as a system that tries to say that you're better at evaluating professional football play, better than everyone else, and it just doesn't add up, what do you do? Do you back it up, or do you say, hey, maybe we have a flaw and we're going to admit that? It doesn't seem like that's really what's going to happen, but should it?
Probably. This much really feels like somebody that is covering up for somebody else, and they're not going to make the mistake that happened go away. They're just going to try and cover it up. But I know everyone's going to be, excited about the rant stuff. We're not going to rant too much tonight because I'm going to make sure that you guys get a full-fledged, honest to me, Dan's rant on the members site and behind the members wall. You guys are going to get that this week. It might be before the game. It might be after the game. I'm not entirely sure yet, but no, it's coming. We just have to. We gotta understand. I'm also going to do my film review this week. So my big film review is going to be basically a PFF review of Patrick Mahomes. I'm going to institute the throw by throw. I'm going to chart every throw. I'm going to grade every throw, every play that he makes based on their grading system. So my Wednesday review will be of Patrick Mahomes in PFF form, and we will see. Let you guys know my honest opinions, unbiased. This is what this is about. It's about learning for myself. It's about you guys learning what constitutes a turnover-worthy throw, whether it's bad, whether it's a good decision, regardless. It doesn't matter. So We're going to have the whole thing. It's going to be very fun. It's going to be something new that I've never done. So I'm looking forward to learning a little bit and just try to, when I'm doing the review, guys, try to have a little modicum of here because I'm trying to interpret PFF's rules here. So that's what we have to do.
And I think that's a great exercise because you're not trying to say these guys are dumb or anything like that.
No.
You're trying to say, I think your system has a flaw. Just admit that. And I'm going to show you by going by your grading system what I see. And that's the thing that we have to remember is all football grading is subjective. That's why I miss on the draft player prospects from time to time. Dan misses on prospects from time to time. Every GM in the league misses on prospects from time to time. And that's because this is subjective. But this goes that much step farther. When you have a plan, you try to follow it through. The big thing for me is that Patrick can't be the number 8 quarterback in this league this week because he threw 5 touchdowns with 0 interceptions. Only 2 of the top 5 quarterbacks did that, him and Herbert, who are playing on Thursday. And he threw for the most yardage in the league. You cannot tell me that by doing all that you threw, admittedly, I think possibly 1.5 turnover-worthy throws that didn't become turnovers. You can't tell me that balances that out and makes you an average quarterback on the week. That's just the bottom line.
That's the worst part about this, is that what he was graded as was a just above average quarterback. Guys that finished above him this week in their grading scales: Jameis Winston, Ryan Tannehill. He finished like right in front of Davis Mills, guys. Go. I want you to spend 5 minutes today. Do one thing for me. Spend 5 minutes. Go watch those quarterbacks play at any point in their games and tell me that they graded out better than Patrick Mahomes. Didn't happen.
You got a Blondie song in my head when you just said that. And I want you to do one thing for me too, because I know some of you guys are very interested in the betting world and that kind of thing. And I understand that. Our friends at DraftKings are supporting us. Go check them out and sign up with our code RGR. It helps us and helps them help you to do what you want to do. It's super easy. They've got a great deal for you. And they're our newest sponsor, fully admitting, but they're giving you make one $5 bet, they give you $200 in free bets. It makes everything easy. And you want to get in on the action tonight or tomorrow before the Thursday night game, because it's going to be like the highlight of the week. So if you're interested, if you want to check it out, especially for you Kansans that they just let it happen here, check out our code RGR. Download the app from any app store. Use that code RGR and you get $200 once you bet one free you get $200 free once you bet one $5 bet. And it's only at DraftKings. They are the America's top-rated sportsbook. And that goes a long way in protecting your money and protecting your investment as well. If you have a gambling problem, please, getting help is your best bet. Go to 800-522-4700, 21 plus, physically present in Kansas. Eligibility rules, restrictions apply. Bonus issued for free bets. 1 early win token issued at opt-in. Moneyline bets only. Deposit wagering restrictions apply. Eligibility in terms of DraftKings.com/Kansas. On behalf of Boot Hill Resort and Casino, that is it. Thank you for supporting the folks that support us. And if you're new to us, this is the show tonight. This is Q&A. This is where we do this for you every week. We're going to answer your questions. We're going to get right into them right now because, they're stacking up fast, Dan. I'm going to let you start with Zach.
Sorry, guys.
Thank you, Zach.
Thank you, Zach. Appreciate it.
I have to pay the bills around here so we can do cool graphics and stuff like that. I hope you guys are digging the intros. Zach asked, and thank you for the support, buddy. Love the pod. Thank you. Man, I haven't been this mad in a long time yet. I can't wait for the rant. Perfect. PFF was on drugs. What drugs are you on? Eighth behind Ken. What? In the end, when you take a look, just at what you saw highlight-wise, where do you expect Patrick to come out?
Based on everything I've seen, I would say he was the best quarterback in the NFL this week. Like, he should be the number one player regardless of your grading system, because that's kind of how this stuff works. He did make some mistakes. There's no saying he didn't. But the problem now becomes when you are interpreting something that you actually don't really know the play. You don't know the play. You don't know the reads. We can only go based off of our assumptions of what's happening and what we kind of see with our eyes. That's all we can go off of. So we're going to see. I would imagine he comes out as the best, but I still need to figure out exactly how their system works after you get a point total, because I'm going to figure that out, and then I have to figure out how they would go about that. So we'll see.
And that's absolutely fair. And that's the thing. You guys have heard my opinion on grades before. Because they are subjective, because you don't know the play calls, particularly on the offensive line, it's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
You're making an educated guess. And if you happen to be somebody like Sam Monson or somebody like me who's played the game and coached the game and been involved in it, you have a reasonable opportunity to make an evaluation of that play that's fairly accurate. If you're somebody who's watching film, for the first time, if you're a college guy that never played and you just love the game and you're trying to help PFF out, which is the way that they work, or at least the way that they did work,
mm-hmm.
the experience factor is a negative in that sense. Yeah. So it is about double checks. And that's really the way that it comes out. And I think, again, you have to do, I think, a little bit more contextual evidence than just the plus minus. But that's me. Swag Boy, thank you. Do you think that the CBS will hold up? If the CBs will hold up, if McDuffie can't play? I mean, hold up, sure. I don't know how the numbers came out, tackle and PBUIs, but I think Watson played well.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that he went in for McDuffie on his side. I think what I saw from Josh Williams made me feel like he can play pretty well too. Honestly, Fenton was Fenton. On some of those cuts, he gets, he allows separation on quick cuts, those kind of guys. I don't see any of that changing. Do you?
Not really. This is, especially on Thursday, like I don't expect McDuffie to miss a whole lot of time. We'll find out, obviously, as much time as he'll miss, but we'll see. But Thursday doesn't look like Keenan Allen's going to play. Keenan Allen's their best separator, and that's kind of where these guys would have some issues, is against really good route runners. But Mike Williams is not a separator. He's really more of their deep threat. And Austin Eckler's a problem out of the backfield for sure, but Josh Palmer, not a separator. Like DeAndre Carter, some creative players that they have. I'm not super worried about it. I'm more worried about Justin Herbert just making ungodlike throws, being accurate to where it won't matter that they're in good position.
Well, when Herbert can hit a back shoulder throw to the sideline on a tight end that's falling down backwards and still complete that, you got some magic going on. Folks, this is the simulated. This is put up by the Chiefs, but it was not an official practice on either team's part. But this is what would have happened today, at least in their estimation. And this is the problem, is both Harrison and McDuffie would not have participated. Let me see if I can actually blow that up. I'm not sure that I can, but I will try. Let me get creative. Negative. Now you just get to see my dirty desktop. Okay, great. That sucks. That's really the problem. Is luckily Trey Smith looks like he would have been a light participant, which generally means that he can move towards playing. Same thing with Mahomes. Obviously, he said that nothing came out broken or anything like that. He's going to be sore, but he'll be all right. It is his left hand. So I think we feel good about that. Orlando Brown, I didn't notice anything about the knee, so I wasn't too concerned. But then you see the guys who didn't play. Parham, that's terrible because I know he had a bad injury last year. But no J.C. Jackson, their number one corner, and no Keenan Allen, their number one wideout. That's tough to come back from. There's just no other way to say that. And hey, if that's what happens, it makes your life a little bit harder. But for the Chiefs, it sets them up in a way that you got to feel that they can play even better, even if they are young. And in fact, I think we have a question from Ethan about Orlando. Grab that one, and I'll figure out where we're going next.
Appreciate the question, Ethan. If Orlando Brown Jr. has an absolute Pro Bowl year, how much would the Chiefs have to pay him to keep him in Kansas City? So I think this is kind of the point, right? This is what he was talking about. But to get the money he wants, I personally think he has to have an all-pro season, because that's kind of what you're asking for. You're asking for an all-pro type of contract. So they offered him, what was it? The amounts of about $19, $20 million-ish for their contract this last year. If he gets a Pro Bowl season, you probably bump that up to $22 million a year. So that's what I'm estimating, is that he gets nearly $21, $22 million a year.
I like that. I can get down with that, actually. And in the end, if he's demanding more, which you got to expect that he probably will, if that's what it comes down to, then I'm very comfortable with that at that rate. Because, again, everybody else is going up. It's just never increasing pile of money that gets handed out. So, again, folks, if you're new to us, you want to support the channel, you can hit the store for the tees, for the hoodies, for all the stuff. You can hit the super chats. You can join the memberships where you get Dan's rants. You get Rogue Head Huddle, which is member show in the season. In off season, it can be out in public, but we're going to let the guys really get their groove on. You want to check that out. You got to join at the rookie level or above, and that's how you get all the extra content. Every now and then you're going to hear me throw a cuss word or two in there. You never know. I try not to do that on the public side. It is what it is. Seth George, thank you. I know it was garbage touchdowns. Should there be concerns about the second half late game defense? Not at all. I mean, and you got to understand, you have backups playing their starters, and Kyler's still Kyler. I actually felt like they held up pretty good. Could there have been a couple of plays that probably saved a touchdown? Yes. But overall, I felt like that set up the depth to be ready when called upon more.
Yeah, that's all it was. I mean, the bulk of the game that was competitive, the Chiefs were scoring and they were scoring. The defense was good. So I'm not too worried about it myself. When you're in that off coverage and everything, it's hard to really make determinations.
I just got to say that I don't know if anybody's asked a question about this yet. I'm grabbing them now, folks. If you're not as happy about the run game as I am, that's okay. Another week or two, and I think you will be. I just hope that Andy will keep it up. That's really all I can ask, and we'll see. We'll see what Avery says. She might want to run around. You never know. I miss Avery. Do you want to run? Do you want to run? I think you want to run. It's okay.
She always wants to run.
Yeah, running is good. See, she's down.
Fast as you can. There you go.
Burton Pacheco, Scarlet Knight package coming at you, hon. Okay. Coach Avery said, time to run the ball more. Swag Boy, big game Thursday. What's the game plan for a W? I also love this show and wish you could do a live stream with you two every night. I appreciate that, Swag.
Appreciate it, Swag.
You'd get tired of us real fast if it was every night, buddy. I guess we should go ahead and hit some of the points. I'll still try to crank out one of us will crank out a solo game plan just because it's got to be quick hitter because we have so much content to condense down into a couple of days this week. Thursdays are always tough around here, but the big thing is you got to get to Herbert just like they had to put pressure on Kyler. I thought they rushed with good control last week.
Yeah.
They can be more all out against Herbert because, yes, he has legs that he can hurt you, but he's not Kyler. And the big thing is, if you do what you did this week in dispersing the ball on offense and running the ball on offense and holding the ball on offense, you severely limit what they're capable of doing. They need to get this offense, and I think Herbert in particular, they do have to get in a rhythm. Like, they got to feel the pressure, I think. I think Herbert's a guy that does better when he's under pressure, personally, but that's just an instinct. Am I wrong, Dan?
No, I think that's true. It also kind of points to Mike Williams, too. They want to get him the ball earlier than later. You know, that he is their deep ball guy, but Keenan Allen kind of helps that whole offense get in a rhythm and stay in a rhythm. So it's going to be interesting if he doesn't play, how they manufacture those touches and how they jumpstart their offense. I think for Kansas City, it's negating that pass rush. Like that's going to be the one thing that they're going to hyper focus on this week, because I know Khalil Mack's older. I know Joey Bosa is, people want to knock him. He has some injuries now and then, but Joey Bosa is, in my opinion, the most underrated pass rusher in the NFL. And unfortunately, his brother is so much better than him that people don't think he's that good anymore. But Joey's still very good. So get the ball out quick. Andrew Wiley is going to need help.
Yeah,
he's going to need help. Run the ball.
Yeah, I mean, and Wiley didn't play terrible, but I agree with you. He was the weakest link on the offensive line, and he is going to need help. That's a matchup that he hasn't done terribly great at in the past. Mm-hmm. I'd have to go pull the specific numbers, but folks, excuse me for the coughs. I am consulting for a high school team out here in Colorado.
Oh, there you go.
I went to a ball game on Friday night, and it started snowing because I live at elevation. So yeah, I got a little cold now.
Nice.
That's the way it goes.
Always
Cole agrees, and Cole, glad you're in the chat. Illegitimate company. I mean, maybe that process is a little bit, off.
I think everything that PFF does outside of their rating process at times is really good. I love their stats and everything like that, but I think that they could use a little bit of fine-tuning to their process.
Agreed. And that's just the grades. I will tell you that I think they do a very good job in win percentage, and that's particularly on the pass rush, because I use that a lot.
Agreed.
And I have double-checked games myself, and I generally agree, and they're pretty straight on those. Ruben, how big do you see the chip on Mahomes' shoulder? He said during the press conference that all that the talking head said is just that he is just a quarterback from Texas Tech, not NFL ready. Yeah, I mean, the whole little scribble on the notepad gif that goes around every time he gets slighted, like, that's real. Like, the guy doesn't forget these things. And I don't know if the chip grows, but I think it gets heavier, and I think it pushes him to be better. The big takeaway that maybe I didn't say it last night that I was really happy to see is he made those special plays. He made a throw in the grasp again.
Yeah.
But he wasn't so wild and desperate to do it that he threw it away and caused turnover. So, like, that is just in week one, year-to-year progression for me.
Yeah, I love that. I think that you heard, if you guys saw it, if you didn't see it today, Colin Cowherd had the ex-Saints head coach, Sean Payton, on to talk about Patrick Mahomes and the quarterbacks, and he didn't even let Colin finish. And he said he's the best quarterback, period. There's the end of discussion. Like, football people know. We all know. This is not, I don't care. He doesn't care about his mechanics. The Colin's talking about how he watched film and his mechanics aren't so consistent. Colin, you need to make yourself available for these film sessions that you go through, because we all know that you're just a talking head. You don't know what you're watching on film.
We're happy to have you, Colin. Come on.
We're happy. Come on. Watch some tape with me. I'll tell you right now, you don't know anything about his footwork or his mechanics. Sean Payton knows. Just saying.
Which rookie should we catch our breath and relax about underperforming in week one, and which one actually lived up to the hype week one? I saw some people trying to gotcha me about Brian Cook. Like, he missed a tackle. Okay, that happens. But he hit well. He tackled well. Other than that one, he was in position. He's supporting Juan and Justin. I think that he did fine. And the guy that you should be hyped up about, honestly, is Skyy.
Yeah.
One catch on one touch, and he did that. I mean, yes, the scheme helped him get open, but you saw that glimpse of what he does after the catch. That yak is going to come in droves from Skyy Moore.
The balance, guys. he's a running back when it comes to his balance. He has excellent contact balance. He's a tough runner after the catch. He may not be the most electric, but he's got some really nice after the catch moves. So definitely watch for Skyy to get more involved as the season goes along.
Yeah, I agree with you. Let's see. Bill, thank you. And Scott, thank you. PFF's problem, they think they think risky for Mitch Trubisky is the same as risky for Patrick Mahomes. It is a varying scale, isn't it? It's a very good point, Will.
It's all up to interpretation, really. And you're not wrong.
And Scott, thank you. What do we have to do on both sides of the ball to take the W from the Bolts? We discussed that. We hit that a little bit there, but I will also say too, like, you have to build on what you did on defense.
Yes.
I don't think it was any coincidence that George Karlaftis outplayed Carlos Dunlap and Frank Clark. But you can't just say, okay, we did that against the Cardinals to prepare so those guys could play more. That's fine. But it was the rotation. It was the variability and the fact that they were all fresh. I think that's going to be key.
Me too. I think that Frank Clark, having COVID last week may have helped them get the rotation going. I think he wasn't on the field as much as he could have been, but I think he definitely felt better near the end of the game there, which is encouraging for me. So I think that the pass rush up front is going to be very, very important. This offensive line for the Chargers is still a work in progress. I know they're a little bit better, but they still have some work to do, and I think you can really get them on the interior. I really think you can.
I agree. The Regs are here. Holly Mitchell. Avery's here. Nice to see you both. And back to your interior thing too. We saw the NASCAR package. I think they got to do that more because I think it's variable still, even within that group, what you can do with it, who you put inside. I think we saw success from Dunlap. We saw success from Clark inside. We know Karlaftis can do it. We know Dana can do it. Big takeaway from the pressure stats to Dan's boy, Mike Dana, tying George Karlaftis and Chris Jones for those numbers.
Mike Dana's been he has taken a very big leap from last year to this year. And we can thank the defensive line coach, Cullen, for unlocking some of the potential within Mike Dana. He's not going to be the flashiest guy in the world, but I think they're using his, much like George Karlaftis, his want and his determination to get to the quarterback to his advantage.
I'm with you. Mike, I hope you're doing well. Is week one overrated? Do we overreact? Yes and yes.
Yes.
We also have to remember this is a team that doesn't run the ball very well in the Arizona Cardinals. Was missing Nuke Hopkins and J.J. Watt. I mean, they were depleted.
Yep.
The one thing that I will say is I had a lot of Cards fans in my mentions last week about how dare I say attack Isaiah Simmons. Well, now you know why. That's the way it goes.
Wasn't just Kelsey. Andy Reid was like, I'm going to single up everybody on Isaiah Simmons, and he did.
Yeah,
he did.
Yeah, and I liked Isaiah coming out. I do feel like he's being misused. I think he should be a Derwin James kind of strong safety box robber type guy.
Yeah,
that's my thought. But that's why I ain't in charge of them. They're Arizona Cardinals. 6 pressures from Furious George. You are absolutely right, Alex. Tied with Chris Jones and with the aforementioned Mike Dana. Good day out for George. I don't care that he didn't get home. That doesn't bother me. I felt like he pushed the pocket well. I felt, again, he was pretty dynamic at his pad level. He got caught high a couple of times, but that's all right. It's going to happen. I think he's going to get better at that, more consistent at that, and I think he will get home. Bradley Tyreek. Who is this person you mentioned of? But seriously, I'm way too excited now. Please bring me back to reality. Reality is Justin Herbert's one of the top 5 quarterbacks in this league, just like Patrick Mahomes is.
Yep.
And they have a very good defense. This is going to be a slugfest. I'm excited because I think Thursday night brings out the best in this Chiefs team. I think that is because of Andy Reid and the rest of that staff. You remember that blowout they had against the Patriots, right? Like that's the kind of thing that I look for. And they need it because if they can put this team to rest, that sets them up for the rest of the season in terms of making sure you own the division.
Exactly. They need to do it.
At the end of the day, that's all that matters. Chiefs Enjoyer, I saw a stat that said our pass rush got home close to 50% or something. As someone who admittedly doesn't know much about pass rush, is that amazing or no? I think that's the pressure rate. I'd have to double check the numbers, which I can try to do while we're on here. And that is a good rate. Like when they're really elite, they're getting into the 60 and 65%. pressure rate, and that means of the dropbacks, that's how many pressures you're getting. Now, remember, you can get multiple pressures on a single play. Multiple players can produce a pressure. So sometimes that gets a little bit misleading when you're getting like jailbreak pass rush and that kind of thing. But getting home is when they actually sack the quarterback. They certainly didn't do that. They did have 3 on the day. And everybody forgets that Turk Wharton was one of them. I mean, I think that's one of the bright spots that we haven't really highlighted. But what they get 28 pressures on how many dropbacks? I got to check that. 28 pressures on 37 dropbacks. So that is approaching, 70%? That's pretty dang good.
That seems like a lot of pressures. I'm not sure I believe that.
Well, okay, fair enough. I'm not going to have an argument defending anybody right now, so we're just going to go with that.
But I just don't know.
Getting home, no, that'd be a different thing. With 3 sacks on 37 dropbacks, that's roughly a little bit. It's a 9% thing. If you get 15% in a ball game, you're feeling pretty good about yourself. So they're on their way, and I do feel that can improve quite dramatically. What are the Chiefs' plans for Rojo? Alex asked. I don't think they have one. I think he's there in case. I don't think that they feel pressed to do anything. Do you, Dan?
No, I don't feel like they need him right now, especially after the showcasing we saw yesterday. I think they're feeling very comfortable with the guys they have. McKinnon was excellent in his third down and pass protection role. Clyde showed he can be used multiple ways. He had a really good start to the game. They focused on him in the run game early, had some slip-ups in their blocking and him reading some of those signals. But then, their third guy, Pachenko, comes in, and guess what? He can grind it out too. I think that they kind of show that they don't really need Jones right now, and he's more of a in case of emergency kind of guy.
Yeah, I'm with you. Would you take Whiskey Bravos? He's got a good one, and thank you for the support, buddy.
Thank you, Whiskey. Appreciate you. Now, talk me out of it. Why can't this offense get 6,000 passing yards and 60 pass touchdowns? Top 10 defense. Always enjoy the show. Thanks, guys. Hashtags. Well, I'm not going to say it because I don't think they do, but I think they're just some things that they do. But you all see what he says. So I don't think that 6,000 yards is on the table, mostly because not every defense in the NFL is as bad and depleted as the Arizona Cardinals is right now. They didn't have anybody in the secondary outside of Budda Baker making plays. Their linebackers are still trying to figure out what they are. Their pass rush, they had some good things, but they had to blitz 50% of the time to get a pass rush going. They had to. They didn't have a choice, and Mahomes was able to. And when you blitz that much, you're just asking for Mahomes to carve you up, which he did, and it shows you. So there's going to be lots of variation. Next week, don't expect him to get 400 passing yards. If he does, great. That's just exactly what we all want. I don't expect it to happen because the Chargers are very well coached, and they have much better players at every level, even without J.C. Jackson. So we're going to see better players, especially as the time goes through.
And hey, they're going to get 4th downs that coach is going to go for.
Yeah.
Jokes aside, that is kind of funny. But also, when the opposing team goes for those fourths and the defense stands up, Patrick gets a short field, so that hurts the yardage totals. So yeah. I agree with you there. I think 50 passing touchdowns could still be on the table. Just saying. Yardage, I think, is going to be – I'm still comfortable with my 4,700, but I'm starting to think that might be on the high side.
Okay.
It is what it is. Thank you, Whiskey. Appreciate you. Thank you, Daryl. Appreciate you. And Daryl, you got one in on me late last night. Apologies. I'm very sorry for that. I hate it when I miss super chats because when you guys are going to be generous and I screw it up and don't get them, we were actually done by that time, but just wanted to say that. But Tactics got one in, and where did it go? Daryl got did Daryl get the last one? No, Tactics got another one. Tactics, thank you.
Thank you, Tactics.
And Chris Manchester, thank you. I didn't even see that one come in. So dang.
Thank you, guys.
3 after the fact. That's crazy. Daryl, you and Dan make mistakes. I don't believe it. Absolutely, we do. And that's the fun part. I think that's the best thing. Like everybody knows that Chiefs Kingdom is blowing up here on YouTube, but around the web as well, right? Cole's doing his thing. We're doing our thing. And hopefully we'll have Cole. We'll do something together here this week.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll let you guys know. But KCSN does a good job too. And we talk to those guys. We have a summit before every draft just because some of this is open to interpretation. So we definitely make mistakes, but it's cool to see how and try to take that to the next class and the next class and the next class and do it better. So we keep trying. Thank you for the support, Daryl, though, and I appreciate that. If you would tell my wife that I never make mistakes, that would be great. Mecole is still giving up on balls too early. I really don't like the effort sometimes. What do you guys think? I think Patrick took it on himself. I do think Patrick misfired the second one.
Yep.
But I think the first one might have been on Mecole.
I think the first one, Mecole lost it. I think that's what happened. I think that he lost it, and then he didn't. By the time he found it, he kind of put his hand out. I think that's what happened. It looked like he lost it in the lights. I know they're in the dome, so it's very possible to do that. I actually think Mecole's a pretty good tracker of the football myself. He has some inconsistencies at times, but again, you're playing in a dome. Mahomes can just launch these balls up there. Like, people kind of forget he can kind of teardrop it at times. I think sometimes you can lose it, but I do believe the first one was on Mecole, regardless of whether he lost it or just didn't dive for it. And the second one, Mahomes just got to hit him. Mahomes just has to hit him. He overthrew Tyreek Hill in that one too. Tyreek would have missed that too.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, and Tyreek's Tyreek. What are you going to do? Bill Bond, Herbert has big receivers. You think that's a big reason for his success? It certainly helps when you have guys that can go help you make those completions. You could make the same argument for anybody who's ever thrown to Julio Jones or Mike Evans or any of those guys. It's still part of the equation, but don't let that fool you. Justin Herbert is that good.
Very much so.
Let's see. Teak, I think we're on a little delay now, Dan. I hope
a little bit. I think so.
If you're yeah, okay. Well, maybe I'll let you take one and I'll jump out of the chat and come back. Maybe that's what I'll do. Big test Thursday night. Thank you, Teak. We'll see where we really are. That's absolutely true. Both teams coming off different games. Tough one for the Chargers. Can they regroup? That's going to be the big question. Dan's going to take this next one, and then I'll be back in a minute.
I think you're all right. I think we got caught up.
Okay.
Thank you, Ian, for the question. How did Orlando Brown do in particular? He looked better yesterday. I think Orlando Brown looked like Orlando Brown in the sense that he was pretty good in the run game. He missed a couple guys that are faster than him, and that forced Mahomes to get up and out of the pocket. He missed some pass protection blocks like he usually does. So, I mean, I don't necessarily think that Orlando Brown was great, like a perfect player. He wasn't like a bad player. He had some bad reps, but everyone's going to lose every once in a while unless you're, Mitchell Schwartz or some of those guys that are top tier players. But I don't think he is. So he's going to have some reps that aren't as great.
I will say this and take it with a grain of salt. Well, never mind. The grain of salt's been confirmed. PFF did a good job on this one. They had him with 4 hurries. So did 2 other sports stats. And that's the one thing that the NFL doesn't track as an official stat. Like, I used to always put sacks and hits together because I like quarterback collisions. Those are official stats. Hurries are not. So that's open to interpretation too. But all 3 of the stats groups that I can see all agreed on this, that he gave up 4 others. That's okay. With Patrick, you're going to give up some of those hurries, especially if it's a speed rusher. What he does against Bosa is what I think is going to be interesting. I have a feeling they're going to put Mac on Wiley. I could be wrong, but it seems like that's the way that they want to go, and then we'll really know.
They have to. They can't put a power guy on Orlando. That'll be his more opportune time to have wins. And the best way to do it, in my opinion, like you said, speed on slower guy and the power guy against the guy who's not necessarily known as a power player. So that's kind of a little good combination for him.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Tyler, did you see Gay get wrecked by the running back on the QB draw? Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
And he missed a couple of tackles. Not Willie's best day out, but I will say you saw Willie perform athletically the way that he can perform, and the rest will come. I have nothing negative to say about Willie's game. Do you, Dan?
It was just he looks a little bit still behind. I thought he was we'll see how it goes the season. How the season goes, but I still think right now, at least in that first game, it's one game, so trying to take too much into it. He's still having the same missteps mentally and tackling, which is my biggest issue. It's my biggest issue with Willie Gay. I don't care so much about the mental stuff in terms of being half a second behind so you get a tip pass instead of an interception. I care about being in the right spot and not being able to make a tackle.
Yeah. In the end, that's what costs you plays, which costs you drives, which costs you points. That's the way that it goes. Avery, Skyy had nearly 100 total yards. You see him getting that again on Thursday, with the bulk of them coming in the receiving game, say 35 return yards. Possibly. I hope they let Pacheco do that. I'd like to see Skyy not do returns, because I think if you can get him active, you can get maybe 80 yards of him out of receiving, and that's what I'm looking for. But you're on the right track. I would agree with you, Avery.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're going to hopefully see him have a better game. Like Patrick has said, this is going to be very up and down. He was still out there running routes, and he's going to get a lot of routes too. So I'm I'm hoping that this is the game you can really showcase him and say, hey guys, guess what? You let him fall to the Kansas City Chiefs. Something like that.
Everybody yelled at me last year during the draft when I said, hey, I would have been fine if they had taken Karlaftis in Skyy's spot and Skyy and Karlaftis. If George would have fallen that far, you get the same players. They're just a different picks because I think that's how big Skyy is going to be eventually. Donnie from the couch. Hope you're doing well from the couch. Is it me or did Mike Dana look good? Yeah, we're pretty happy about it.
We're pretty happy.
Can he do it against definite upgrade in competition this week?
Yes.
That's going to be the question. Yep. Thank you for the support, though, Donnie, as always. Micah, thank you. Bigger injury loss, McDuffie for KC or Allen for LAC? For me, it's Allen by a long shot.
Yeah, I agree. I think McDuffie's going to be really good. I just think that the weakness in this secondary would be with Keenan Allen because outside of McDuffie, your best change of direction guys are in the slot. And
I agree with that. As much as I like Trenton, I like what he did so far. It's hard to say that your whole defense is going to hinge on one rookie, whereas Keenan Allen is the focal point of that offense, particularly for Herbert. He needs a safety blanket as well. So I think that is the bigger loss. Christo, confidence level going in Thursday. Carr lost them the game, but I think Pat will get us the game. Chargers didn't impress me too much. My confidence level is a 7. You got to be respectful, but Chiefs should have this, in my opinion.
I agree. Like I said, we're going to kind of see their offense didn't look the best, which I was a little surprised about. But again, I'm going to probably rewatch it before Thursday to see how they actually operated in terms of when Keenan was on the field, how much the loss of him affected their offense. But I do expect them to have some change up for this game. So we can't always just take it for what it is.
Fair enough. Surprise week 1 team or game?
I want to say I was surprised by the Bengals, but I kind of predicted them having themselves a little comeback to earth season. So that was kind of fun to watch. My surprise team were the New York Giants. The New York Giants. I love what Brian Daboll did. Like I saw them flash to the sideline of him saying, look, I'm going to go for 2. How do you guys feel about that? In the first game, like him and Kafka make a really good pairing, in my opinion, an offensive pairing, and they took a little while to get going, but I think they helped Daniel Jones make some better decisions later in that game. I know we had the interception, and then Saquon never hurts your team, and then just having the stones to go for the win there. I love that kind of stuff. So, and they were down early in that game, and they could have just fallen over.
I'm down.
I love it.
My week 1 team is the Washington Commanders. I did not think that they were going to be able to beat Trevor Lawrence.
Was going to win too.
Yeah, especially when Walker makes that interception play. I expect him to get pass rush. When he returns that was crazy. So kudos to them. I don't think it's going to last, but kudos to them. And my surprise game was last night's game. When there's one touchdown between the Tampa Bay Bucks and the Dallas Cowboys, that was a surprise to me.
The surprise game for me was the Texans and the Colts.
Yeah, okay.
Tying.
Reggie Foot, do you think the Chiefs go to the AFC Championship? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay. I've seen nothing, and I do think it is the Bills. I am confident in that as well. Thank you, Micah. Appreciate you. 2 losers from the game. People are saying that Gay had a bad game. I mean, it wasn't his greatest. I wouldn't say it was bad. Turk did pretty good. I'm trying to think of the backups that came in. Colin was fine. He got some pocket push, but he didn't have a whole lot of true pass rush snaps. Anybody stand out to you, Dan?
Honestly, even though Juju had a better stat line, I think he was also one of them. He had 2 fumbles. One went out of bounds, but he did have 2 fumbles, and that's not something you're looking for. I know he's still getting acclimated, but you got to secure that football. So I would also say Gabe, just because, again, the tackling stuff, that's kind of like fumbles for me. There's a couple things you can control for the most part. Tackling is one of them. Proper technique. You can tackle well. You might go to their ankle and bring them down, but still, I have some issues with that. So fundamentals, guys, fundamentals.
I'm with you. I can get down with that. I mean, I didn't think Frank did a whole lot either. I understand he's been ill, so I'm giving him a pass on that.
I don't expect him to anymore, man.
But it is what it is. How long until Mahomes and Hardman connect on a deep touchdown? Barely missed twice. I think about 3 days? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's coming.
They are actively scheming up Mecole Hardman to one-on-one situations on deep shots. They had one early in the game too, where they had Travis Kelce and Joe Fortson be like pseudo screen players, and they opened up the entire middle of the field. And the only reason that he didn't get that is because Budda Baker is an unreal player. That would have been a touchdown if it's like 90% of the league, but Budda Baker is ridiculous. So that was a schemed up play. They're going to get Mecole on some of these big plays. He needs to score some touchdowns this year.
Yeah, and I think especially if JC's still out, you get Michael Davis in there. If you can get him matched up, I like Michael Davis. I like him a lot, but he is breezy. He is Jalen. He is power, physical, not long speed. So if you can move him around, you'll get there. Ian, I saw your comment. I think we covered the Chargers quite in depth.
Yeah.
Miles, thank you. I feel like we were going to run the ball and screen pass all over the Chargers. Chargers did nothing to better their run defense this offseason. Other than, I will say, I think Mac is a closet better run defender than he's given credit for.
Yep.
But I agree with you. I think they do have to run the ball, even if it's not successful. And they do have to screen, even if it's not successful, because that will open up everything else that they
have to. And again, I do think the addition of Sebastian Joseph Day will help eventually, but it's going to take a few games. This is an opportunity for the Chiefs to run the ball and actually have some success.
Yeah. Arizona Blitz 54%. Good, Fraggy. Have they not watched Mahomes in the last 4 years? Evidently not. I will say this, though. Staley wants to blitz, too. He knows he shouldn't, but he wants to. And if that happens,
I think he knows. I mean, you watch the Arizona game. It didn't matter what they did, whether they came back, because they not only did they try some drop 8, they blitzed, they tried just manning up, they tried so many different things in that game to try to stop Mahomes. Didn't matter. It didn't matter. So there was nothing they were doing wrong. Right? It could have helped.
It was going to be tough. Jacob, is it crazy to say that this is the best week for McDuffie to be out, or am I coping? Watson matches up better with Mike Williams, in my opinion. I mean, that's a fair assertion. With the length and the strength that both Jalen and Josh Williams have, I won't say it's ever a good time to lose your second best corner. And quite frankly, Trent is the second best corner on this roster. Sorry, Rashad, but that's the truth. There's never a good week for that. Yeah. But if Keenan was here, I would say it was a much bigger worry, because Keenan then requires L'Jarius' attention no matter what. I don't think you can put another guy in the nickel this week if Keenan were there, because that's where he lines up 80% of the snaps.
Yeah.
So without that, I do think you have more strength on strength against the bigger receivers this week.
Earlier ones are always better to have anyway. Yeah. You want them healthy for the playoff stretch run, which we all expect them to be in. So if they're going to get dinged up, kind of hope it happens early, let them rest and find a way to win games early on, which I think the Chiefs can do.
Yeah. Patrick, good question. I'll have to double check with Chris Clark on this, but I do believe he explained it to me once. This is the minutia that I don't get into that much. When a player gets pulled up from practice squad to the active roster, this year's practice squatters get $11K a week. When you get pulled up, you get 35, is my understanding. Now that's 6 months old, and I could have been half asleep when Chris told me that, but I will check with him and double check that for you. Chris knows all that stuff inside and out. Pop Sanders, thank you for the support. Appreciate you. I don't know that we've had a question from you. I don't recognize your screen name, so cheers and thank you.
Appreciate you.
Nice to see total 18 pressures between Jones, Dana, and Furious. What did you think of how the ends played? I was pretty happy. I found it very interesting that the two older guys in Clark and Dunlap seemed to get their pressure when they went inside, not off the edge. So I don't know.
It's going to be different. I think that they're doing a good job of getting a bunch of different guys in there. That's how you're going to get the best out of them in pass rush, because I think that maybe George can be a more consistent one-on-one player in his career at some point, but you don't have one. You don't have someone that's just going to dominate. So you have to find ways to get them to do the best. And they did that against an offensive line that, let's be honest, it's not very good. So they got some confidence up. And I think going into a game against the Chargers on Thursday night, that's more important than anything, is getting them feeling good about themselves and what they can do.
Yeah. I will tell you this too. The other thing, Papa, is that yes, the 18 from those three guys is great. And that it's very encouraging. But it's also the fact that they got 10 pressures from other guys.
Yes.
That's a good volume. 2 from Bolton, 2 from Snead. Like they're sending things. And you guys know how happy I was when they actually blitzed a linebacker instead of sending the corners all the time. Like made my night. So I hope that you'll do that. Real quick, before we go on, we do have more questions to answer, but if you're new here, click the like, click that sub, and become one of us. We're trying to get to 35, 40,000, 50,000 subs this year. We got a lot of ways to go. We want to spread the word, so if you would do that, we would very much appreciate it. Got about 750 folks in here tonight, so
let's go.
There's got to be a few of you that are new. He's Dan, I'm Ryan. Let's get after it. William's next on the board. Thank you, William. Appreciate your support. Today, we learned that there's an anonymous DC working for PFF. Yes. Talk about the amazing Juan Thornhill looked closing on the ball. I think he can be all-pro. It's funny that you mentioned that because that's the little quick film I'm going to do is on that play by Juan. Because I think that is just a glimpse of the future, and I agree with you, Will. I do think he has the ability to get there. He's got to produce it, and it's got to start now. Like you can't miss weeks where you're not making plays.
Yeah,
you got one where it was a near one. I think you'll get some credit for that, but he's got to step it up. I feel like he can. Do you get that feeling? Or am I wrong?
No, he looks so good. I think that not only is he going to build, like I talked a little bit about confidence already, he seems more comfortable in his own body, which is everything for a guy whose basic necessity required is to be able to run sideline to sideline. Like that's what you're asked to do is cover everything deep. So the fact that there were no deep balls completed yesterday, all of these things, he comes out of nowhere on the Brock. I didn't even see him. I thought someone was going to complete that pass, and then all of a sudden, this bullet comes out of nowhere, and Juan just says no. So yeah, I think he definitely could. It's going to be about the production comes with it because he could still be a very good player and not be an all-pro because that production doesn't hit.
Yeah, those numbers matter. And tonight, when I get a chance to look at the all-22, I'll do that. I think it's out already.
Yes,
I don't know.
Should be.
Okay, knock on wood. Let's hope. But Bill, thank you for the questions. And somebody's holding a grudge there over in that DC land. I'm with you, Chris. How do you feel about being about the defense overall and week one this year? I feel like they are tackling a lot better. I disagree. There's 10 missed tackles total this week. I was pretty disappointed with that. But I feel like they're positionally capable of it. Like they're there. There are a lot of guys that had either contact or had an arm around that just couldn't pull them down. So you clean that up, I think you're in business.
This has been a problem of theirs for a while. I was hoping, that maybe Bolton can rub off on some of these guys, but it doesn't seem to be there quite yet.
No. And Nick missed one or two as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
It happens. It is preseason. Tackling donuts doesn't count, okay? You got to hit and wrap up and take them to the ground. That's just the way that it goes. They'll get there. I'm not concerned. Who played better Sunday, McDuffie or Sneed? Sneed. He was there, PBU, pressure, in phase. McDuffie looked good, but Sneed's still better in my opinion.
The only way you can actually answer the question is if McDuffie had gotten targeted. He got zero targets at all. So you only have
that says something all by itself, though.
But does it? I don't necessarily think I think he played against AJ Green the majority of his time. AJ Green can't get open. Kyler knows he can't get open. So I think that he was targeting other players in that offense regardless because I just don't think that he trusts AJ Green very much.
I'm gonna check that while you answer this next one.
Thanks for the question, Brandon. Is Isaiah Pacheco, my apologies, going? I've seen somebody. My mouth just kind of says Pachenko, like it feels like it has to do it. So I know someone put it in the chat. So I apologize. We're gonna try to keep Pacheco for here on out. Is he going to take over for Clyde this year? No, I don't think he's going to, especially if the Clyde that we saw yesterday looked more explosive and they leaned on him. And it wasn't just because they didn't have anybody else. I think that they're pretty confident in the player he is. They brought McKinnon in for rest, and then it was right, Clyde back out there, go. Like, that's what they did. They used him more in the red zone, too, in the passing game. So I think that this is the year that you're going to see a lot of Clyde until if he gets injured or if he starts falling off. But again, right now, he looks explosive, he looks healthy, and that's all you need. I think he's going to have a good year.
See, this is what's troublesome about some of the stat organizations, and this is not to lay on the top. When you don't get targeted, I don't have any data about routes run
we don't know.
against McDuffie. I can't even tell you how many times it was green or not, because even Green's chart doesn't show it.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to know. Let's go. Statement win yesterday. Got Mahomes and Kelsey in fantasy. Oh, you're doing well, Bert. And I think you're going to be fine because I think he does have that chip and he's going to want to prove it. OBJ gave up 7 pressures. Worrying or no? Jay, they have it as 5 right now. I just looked a little bit ago. Again, not terribly concerned. If it gets to that point where it's that consistent, then I'm going to be worried about it. I expect him to give up in that range 5 to 7 this week, and then I hope he settles down.
I'm just hoping that the pressure number stays there, but the sack number doesn't go up. That's all. Honestly, that's all I care about. Just try to work on that.
Conversion is the name of the game for those guys if you can get around Orlando. Patrick, question for you. How did your boys Cam Thomas play yesterday? We all know you were watching him. I was. He didn't play a ton. I was pretty happy with his physicality, but his get-off isn't there. He looks like he's thinking too much to me. Dan, did you notice anything with him?
I didn't see him very much, honestly. Just didn't jump out at me. There was Marcus Golden had some good pressures that I noticed from the Cardinals. I didn't see a whole lot else that they had to offer. Maybe there was one time I think that I did see him rounding an edge pretty quickly, but I can't remember off the top of my head. So it wasn't something I was actively watching for.
He might have only gotten like 2 or 3 snaps. That's okay. Part of it. No, 4. Sorry, and unfortunately he didn't get a pass rush snap. So that's all right. What I found really interesting is the guy that he chose to hang out with and jersey swap with was Leo Chanel last night. They trained in the offseason for the draft, so they know each other. I expect big things from him. We knew it was going to take a transition. Maybe it doesn't happen this year, although I still have hope, but we'll see. And thanks for asking, Patrick. How did Khalen Saunders look? He looked okay to me. Again, I didn't see anything drastic. Did you, Dan?
No, he wasn't. I did see him upfield a couple times, but he doesn't do anything mind-blowing, in my opinion.
Yeah. A tackle, 2 assists, no misses, no pressures. So, good rotational in the back. It's fine.
Exactly what he should be.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, Sean Payton told us this is a little scary about how Mahomes was almost a Saint. Yeah, it was. Yeah. And I had known that from folks I know who with the Saints.
Yeah.
They like, and you got to read that into Sean's other comments today, too. It's like he loves him some Pat Mahomes. Like Sean Payton, if Sean Payton stays out of the game and is not the Cowboys head coach next year, he might just stay out until Andy retires because he wants to coach Patrick Mahomes.
He honestly thinks he's the best quarterback he's ever seen play. Like
it's crazy.
He believes it. So there might be a little steam to that there, Ryan.
Yeah, you never know. What do you think of the players in the locker room work? Let's ride into the post game interviews. I don't know. Did everybody say that? I said it, and everybody yelled at me yesterday. So
I didn't hear anything other than saying. Honestly, I didn't see it a whole lot.
Okay, cool. Then I ain't
can't
gonna
say
it.
I did.
Trying to speed up here, folks. We're gonna power through the last 10 minutes here. I know we got Monday Night Football coming. We got a lot going, and I got 2 draft shows I got to record still. So we have things to get done. By the way, if you want to check out draft prospects, yes, I'm already watching them. Trying to watch them as much live as I can this year and be a little bit ahead of the game. Probably a very small chance that he's not coaching before retire, but okay. Perfect timing.
Look at that.
Perfect timing.
Nice. Great job.
I mean,
great job.
Honestly, could you see Andy bring him in as what Chile did? You know, the offensive mastermind, whatever the hell they called that?
Maybe. I think that's why he brought Matt Nagy back, though. So
yeah,
if you bring
Sean Payton's better than Nagy,
as much as I like Nagy. So let's think really quickly. EB's gone. Maybe they bring him in. Maybe. I think he's going to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys next year. Actually, earlier than next year.
Yeah, you might be absolutely right. Pressa, Chanel got 10 snaps. It was late. One thing that I liked, he got 2 snaps in the first half. One of them was an overhang on a base defense where he actually crushed down and was manning the edge, and I thought he did a pretty good job. He didn't get a lot of action yesterday when he was in the ballgame, so that's okay. Speaking of Frank, did you catch Chris Jones' pun about the runs? No, I missed that, and I think I'm glad I did, Matthew. What's your impression of Allegretti? He got thrown into the mix. He didn't have the greatest day. I saw him get beat inside twice, not for pressure, but like reps that he had trouble with. I think he'll be fine, though.
Yeah, if he has to start, he'll be fine. Getting thrown in the mix is never easy, and I think he had some good snaps and some rough ones, but I kind of expect that from him.
Yeah. John, yeah, we're definitely concerned about the missed tackles. They got to clean that up, and so does Juju with the fumbles. I don't know that that's going to be terrible yet, though. Oh, and I just had a super chat queued up, and it just went away. So take this one, and I'm going to go find that again, William.
All right. Thank you for the super chat, William. True love. Sorry if I missed it. How will this offense look when we don't get blitzed the majority of the time? So you did see it on Sunday. They were able to still move the ball even against 8-man drops. They're going to look a little different. It's going to be more of what you guys saw with Juju coming open over the middle of the field and sitting in some of the soft zones, because teams are going to go back to that. And they're not going to play so much man, because the Chiefs, as soon as they went man, they started to run mesh concepts and some pick routes, and they were very successful in doing so. You're going to see them play the majority of still against those zone coverages. So they're going to look just the same but different, if that makes any sense.
It does. It really, really does. Thank you, William.
Thank you.
What I missed was left-handed fork. Thank you very much. How will rookies respond to their first primetime game? Honestly, I think that was what's really smart about what they did, is they got almost all the rookies into the ball game. I didn't see Kennard get any snaps.
He was inactive.
He was. That's why. So they got a little bit of exposure. It's going to be a different atmosphere. But I think they're going to respond well. When you're that hyped up and you get a chance and you've been waiting for this your whole life, you're going to be overexcited, and then you're going to come down, and then you're going to be relied on. And I feel pretty good about it.
Excited. I'm hoping they use some of that. Like we've seen Mahomes get too hyped up and overthrow. I think you might see some of those end up in some big hits.
Yeah, I'm with you. Ekia, can you see a future running back duo of CH and Pacheco as a 1-2 punch for years to come? I mean, possibly, most likely, unless Clyde really goes off, he's going to be one contract back, because you have an heir apparent, and keeping a second contract running back doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you have somebody like Pacheco in the making.
No, it really depends on, like I said, how much he's going to get. Like, I don't necessarily think that Clyde's going to get a ton of money, but so they possibly could try to keep him around. But I do think that he and Pacheco are very good, work with each other very well.
I'm with you. Madman, congrats on the new sponsor for both of you. How much would it take for you to put a DraftKings tattoo logo on your head? No, man, I'm in the millions. Like $5 million, I'll give you a tattoo on my forehead.
Yeah, we're talking millions of dollars, because this is not free advertising space, and it's going to stay there forever.
Watch. This is my moneymaker. It's all in the voice, but I still got to look okay. Spards, thank you. Was there anyone who was a pleasant surprise? What players are you watching on Thursday?
I think Noah Gray for me was a pleasant surprise. I didn't expect him to play as well as he did, block as well as he did, but he's improved a lot in his blocking, and it's why they're trusting him. I love it.
The surprise for me pleasantly was Andy in calling run early, going back to it, like mixing it up. I was very happy with that, and the fact that he kept his foot down longer than I expected. So like two fronts for that. Yes. I'll definitely be watching for Chanel, because I think they're going to try to put a little bit more base in. They like their tight ends as well, and so if they do that, I think Chanel will get more opportunities. I'm going to be watching Jalen Watson. I think despite everything that Josh Williams did in preseason, I think Jalen might get the go if it's not Trent.
He will.
So
he will.
I'm going to be watching him very closely. Thank you, Sparge, for the support. They lined up Burton at tight end. Yes, they did. They lined him up all over he was an H-back at 1.2. He's obviously the fullback. I just love seeing the eye, and they used it.
Yes, they did.
Don't get me started. I'll be crying all night about the run game. Hardman seemed to be only wide receiver, a little off with Pat. I think it's just Mecole. I think his personality is pretty loosey-goosey, and I think he's got to get it through his head. He's got to be more serious and more direct. Casey, hope you're doing well. Player comparison. Any noticeable difference between the way Reed and Matthews play? Is Reed an upgrade? I think in what he's asked to do, I do think he's an upgrade, because he's willing to tackle. He can cover just as much ground, because Tyron's slowed down as in his old age. The only difference is you can't put Reed man-to-man on a slot receiver. That's the only difference to me. So it's not exactly apples to apples.
No, I'm with you there. It just really depends on what they're asked to do. And Reed's perfectly equipped with athletically and speed-wise to do what he's being asked to do in Kansas City.
Yeah,
way better.
I'm totally with you. I know Josh is really good, but when comparing him to 15, no one seems to consider that the Bills were 0-6 in one-score games last year. 15 shows up more in close games. He does, but I also have to say, what did he have last year? He had Diggs and half of Dawson Knox. He had no running game to speak of.
It did.
Emmanuel Sanders was just there. I don't feel that he was as supportive as Pat either. But you have a fair point, Kevin. D-Man, how do you feel about what the wide receivers can do against the Chargers secondary? Without JC, I feel pretty good.
Yeah, I think they're going to do roughly what they did on Sunday. Just maybe to a slight lesser extent in the yak department.
Yeah, that may be true. I do think that the Chargers will pursue very well.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're disciplined, and I think they have the athletes that way. I mean, Derwin's Derwin. I'm really interested to see just how much they try to physical up Kels. And if so, look for Jody to come right off his hip. I look for not stacked, but that kind of wing tight end second formation. Like that's really going to work. So Whiskey, thank you. NFL needs a new Sunday ticket plan. Pick one team and watch without blackouts or early dates. Yeah. Can you guys rate PFF's quarterback ratings? I think we've gone over that enough.
Yeah, Whiskey. A little bit.
We're going to call it, a backup at this point.
I would say it's about 8th best.
Is that what it is? Okay. How does Casey slow down Mike Williams? Seems like he's always a big game against. He is. He has the Chiefs number. And it really is not allowing him to get to the catch point where he can outman you.
Yeah.
Because he's muscle, he's long, he's got good leaping ability. It's about disrupting his route early, in my opinion. I don't think he's terribly a deep threat, as folks like to call him. I think he is more about catch point for me. So I would let, whether it's Jalen or Josh, I'd let him go at him and just like rough him up like teams did to Kels last year.
Yeah, they have to, because while the only reason I say he's their deep threat is because he's not speed, but they'll just chuck it up to him. They don't really care. They want to get him down the field and into those 50-50 situations. So that's all I mean by that.
Yeah, and I thought Jalen did a good job with his back turn last year. It was kind of trippy to see 35 actually break a ball up. So
right.
Reggie Ragland is unsigned. Wouldn't the Chiefs be interested? He seemed to play well for us when he was. He was, but quite frankly, at the speed that they've added, he's slower than every linebacker on the roster, and you just can't afford that now. This team has to be faster. They have to use that speed and athleticism. I love Reg. I'd like to see him come back as a backup, but Darius Harris even looked good moving yesterday, and that's saying a lot. Jesus, is Rojo value as high as ever? I don't think so.
I would say no. He barely made the roster. He was inactive his first game. Doesn't really speak to the confidence in them playing him.
Like, at the same time, I want to shake Jerick McKinnon and tell him, stop trying to hit dudes. Run away from them, bro.
At the same time, though, don't stop doing what you're doing.
I know. Like, the pass block was great. But I'm just like, dude, don't look for contact downfield. Get out of bounds. You're freaking old. Man. Oh, driving me nuts. Thank you, Azus. Appreciate you. Who's next? Longmorn, appreciate you. We've had 5 really long seasons in a row. The more that we can find the luxury of playing deep in the roster is better. You're absolutely right. Save reps where you can. And I think that also goes towards Andy continuing this. You have a chance to put up points, put up more points, and get your guys out of the ball game.
Exactly.
Andy. Bill, thank you again. Fantasy question. This is for Dan.
All right.
3 wide receiver league. I have Tyreek, Juju, Renfro, Mooney, and CEH. Who do I start in the flex?
So for this week, you're talking about one player in the flex, or
I think that's what he means. 2 wide receivers and a flex.
All right.
Or is that no? That's a 3 wide receiver and a flex. Sorry.
Yeah, that's why it says who do I start? Oh, okay. Who do I start and then flex? Okay, you're right. So 3 wide receivers. I'm starting Tyreek. I'm starting Juju. And based off of what we saw, I'm going to start Mooney over Renfro. Oh. And because Renfro got 2 targets. And then I'm going to put CH in the flex. That's what I'm going to do.
Okay. I feel like Renfro's due, and I don't know that Justin Fields can repeat that performance. So that's the only reason
it was in the rain. I'm pretty sure he can do it in non-rain. Against the not 49ers defense.
I love the confidence, Dan.
I like Mooney better than Renfro in this offense because he's the guy that's going to be targeted down the field. So I'll go with that.
Is Fortson 1 touchdown in each game this year possible? Anything's possible. It's very unlikely.
It's going to happen.
Oh, is it? Is it? Okay.
It's going to happen.
All right. I will say this, though. One every other game is definitely in my sights. I think that is definitely there. Javonte, hope you're doing well. I'm late going to catch up. But damn, that looked good yesterday. Well, thank you for the support, buddy, and I'm glad you made it. I'm sorry you won't probably see this until if you're well behind. But yeah, overall, a first game out, I feel like they did well. Everybody talked about how Pat always does well. That's fine. The rest of the team looked like it was ready to support him too. It wasn't just Pat. And so, like, team-wise, I think that was pretty good, even though Miss Avery's going to, like, poke out her dad's eye or something. I'm not sure what that goal is. It's going to be fun. Oh, don't cough. It's okay. It's okay. I think overall, Javonte, we should feel good.
Yeah, I agree.
We should feel good about where they're at. This will definitely be a test, but hey, if it's not a test, then what's the point, right? You got to go take what you want. You got to go make sure that if this is your division, you go take it and you show them this is ours. We are still the kings until somebody comes along who can beat us multiple times. I don't see that in this division. So
nope.
I will also say that should they not eke out the win this week, I feel very confident that this is going to be a split series this year.
Yeah, me too.
And they're still in it for the top. So thank you, Javonte. Appreciate the support, buddy. Glad you made it. And last question of the week, folks, to OG Gary Holland, who's been here from the beginning. Ryan, with draft, Veach is going to doing with what Veach is doing. Do you think the Chiefs will be good for more years down the road? I mean, just look at the volume of snaps you got from rookies last year and snaps that we've already seen this year. I mean, yes, like they understood that they got long on the tooth and they got overpaid in some positions. They're going to struggle unless Orlando really turns around. I could see them franchising him again just to get that much younger. And if they put another effort into tackle, I think I could see that as well. So yes, youth is the way forward. Speed and youth. It's what it's about.
You've done such a great job. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am too. Josh Levin, thank you. I lied. Gary's not going to be the last because Josh snuck in a super chat. So PFF didn't look so great today. What is it about them that rates 15 so low? Again, we don't have that information because it is an analyst, quote unquote, that does it, and then they get reviewed. It felt like the reviewer was sticking up for an analyst who probably got a couple of things wrong. I saw one turnover-worthy play, and that's their term I'm using here. I saw about 6 big-time throws. That's their term I'm using there. 70% completion rating. The yardage, the touchdowns, like it's just not enough to say that brought down the performance to an average player. I just don't see it.
We'll find out Wednesday. We'll hopefully see what this whole nonsense is about. Okay, you guys tune in on Wednesday. It should be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Jacob, you had one last good question as well. McDuffie didn't miss, but I think 2 games at UW. So no, not something that's a pattern. So I think it's going to be okay. Thank you guys for all the questions. Thank you for being here. Check out good content. We're going to keep pumping it out for you. Gary should be coming tomorrow on time. I'm going to try to get something out for you. Dan's got Tuesday. You got Wednesday too. Oh, you're busy this week. That's going to be great.
Oh, God, what? Gary's not doing Tuesday? What's going on here?
No, Gary's doing Tuesday. Okay. But I know you like to do the little one. I'm going to try to do a little one. I'm going to look at Juan. We have Seth. If you guys missed Seth this morning, he did his short Monday morning look, and he'll be back for Chief in the North later this week. Then we have Jason Dunn. We have Big Chief Sean, and we have our game plan.
Let's go.
Good Lord, we're not going to get to it all. So Jason and the rest will be after this ball game. I'll try to get you something short for a game plan, but we covered a lot of it tonight. So condensed week, enjoy it, and then they get a little bit of a good rest, and I think that's a plus. Thank you all for being here. Have a great night. Thank you, Dan. We'll talk to you tomorrow.